When I was finished my last match at the NCAA tournament, I remember walking off the stage and just being thankful that my college career was finally done. And so I probably went home and got back to Lock Haven, maybe had taken 2 days off, and I was in the room and already calling guys to get in there and start training freestyle and help get me ready for the US Open.
Oh, the first time I met Cary Kolat was when he came to one of the national team training camps. But his focus from when I got to know him was totally to be the best in the world. And his expectations that when he stepped on the mat, he expected to win.
I was just so focused on, becoming the best in the world. And so I was ready to start chasing that next phase of my career.
The competition in that weight class was pretty stiff, and so I did expect whoever to make it through that gauntlet could win the world championships.
Alan Freed, Sean Charles, TJ Jaworski, John Fisher, which was the favorite. John was a hurdle for me. That guy had beaten me so many times. I started wrestling him when I was in high school, and I needed to get past that guy. John came through the mini tournament, and it was a best-of-3 series, and I swept him in 2. My wrestling position got really good at that point, and I just started to go to a new level in my wrestling. So that's my silver in '97. That was in Krasnoyarsk, my first world team, first world championships. When I look back, I think about stuff like '97 is really kind of the only acceptable loss that I'll kind of accept as losing. There was some controversy in the shoe tying stuff, but I look back and say, I should have never let him get that lead. I should have been maybe a little more conservative early on, but he had a game plan and he out wrestled me, and then he had tactics to finish it off.
You never know exactly how they're going to respond to the first time at the World Championships, but Cary is special.
My goal was to be there. I'm finally here. I'm finally wrestling in the Super Bowl of wrestling. I'm finally at this event, and for the first time being there in the atmosphere and watching it, it was like, wow, I'm not this good. And it's weird when I say it, but that's how I entered that tournament. Only way I'm going to find out where I'm at is if I open up. I got to stack it 10th, 9th, 8th, where it's ever going to be.
I really don't remember much about how we got to the finals.
I wound up putting myself in the finals, and then I'm like, I'm going to win this thing. I had beaten Wada, who was rightfully world champion. I'd beaten Sergey Small, who was a world champion. I got through an overtime against a tough Turk in the semis, and now I had an Iranian. Iranians are great wrestlers, and I'm like, I'm here. I'm in the finals. I know where I'm at now. Back then, you had to have 3 to finish the match, and it was 1 5-minute period. 1 5-minute period was a great style for me, because you couldn't escape. You couldn't run from the heat I was going to put you under.
We knew he could win, absolutely 100%. Knew he had the opportunity to win. He got behind early in the match.
This is where I didn't have the tactics. I didn't fully understand international wrestling yet, because the Iranians they're great at tactics. And then at that point is when my first international controversy started.
We saw it right away. First of all, we saw him fade. You can see him fade, right? And so Cary knew it, and we're talking to Cary about keeping the pressure on him and pushing him, but when he got tired, literally, he would just stop.
You're up by 3, they weren't wrestling anymore. They'll take passivities all day. Every time we go out of bounds, Cary would untie his shoe, and the referee would say, tie it, and it would take him a good 45 seconds to tie that shoe. And in the process of tying that shoe, he would unlace the other shoe. And Burnett was going crazy. All our coaches were screaming. to get this going. And then I realized it was a tactic, and I realized, I got to sneak in here somehow. I got to get to a leg somehow.
We definitely pleaded with the official and tried to get him to get the guy up and get him to wrestling and get him back into the match. But there wasn't much Cary could do. The official just definitely had control of the match, and he let it go. The guy was able to regain his composure, get some air, and hung on to win the match.
It's the only loss in my international career that I somewhat accept. I don't agree with the tactics. I don't think it wasn't the right way to win, but that's how we think. But I accept that loss because my mistake was being out of position in the first 45 seconds. I'll take that one. I won't take the other ones, but I'll take that one.
And because of that, the next year the rules changed in terms of taping your shoes. And so Cary's match was a direct relationship into correcting a rule for the next year. They changed the injury time and the amount of injury time, and now you had to tape your shoes. So it didn't go unnoticed even by the bigwigs.
I think at some point when I went back to the hotel and hung out, and it started to sink in a little bit that I had taken a silver, and it was probably the first time I was okay with being second at something, because I was starting to plan ahead and say, okay, I didn't think I was going to win it. It confirmed some training to me. It confirmed the things I've been doing were on the right track. And so I went back. I was excited, and I said, man, I'm the guy. This is my weight from here on out in the U.S., and I'm going to be the guy the next 3 years is what my plan was. And then here's a bronze. That was Iran in Tehran in '98, which that was my first major overturning of a match where they just said, hey, you lost and you're in the wrestlebacks now. And so coming back, this was the hardest medal to win. I get, if I look back and say, when people ask me my most proud tournament, that was a very tough match to beat Tadia, but is that one. Because it happened second round, and I had to battle back. I had to beat Azizov, who was a world champion. I had to beat a world medalist in there, the Bulgarian, who they overturned, went on and won. I watched him win the gold medal and beat Cary in the finals, who I'd beaten that year too. And so wrestling back was tough, and so I was proud when I got done that I did it, but it wasn't easy. None of it was easy.
Back then, there were some really good wrestlers, really good. And in 1998, he actually beat a world champion the first round.
And then I had the Bulgarian second match. And I have a plan for this guy. So my strategy was to attack that leg all day long and just let it go. And I think it totally confused him. And my goal was to wear him out, make him fight, but never give him the position he wanted in that defensive position. So I kept taking a leg up. And then eventually, bam, I hit the other side on him. Took him down for one. We get past the 5-minute mark, and I stay on that leg and attack his leg all day long. And then eventually, he's tired. I hit the other side, and I wind up winning the bout 4-1. And that's it. We're loading up on the bus. We got the Secret Service with the Uzis around us, and we get on the bus and we're driving home. And I'm sitting in front, and I'm just thinking about, we're going to come back in a little bit. I want to eat, I want to relax, I want to sleep a little bit, and I want to get fired up and ready to go again. And John Smith sits down beside me, and he's got some choice words, but he says, look, I'm just going to tell you this. They're protesting that match against you and the Bulgarian, and you're going to be in the wrestleback. They're going to screw you over.
I want to say it was 35 minutes to an hour later that I get contacted and say they've rescored the match and Cary Kolat lost. No re-wrestle, No opportunity to go in and watch the match. Just a group of people said, he lost.
And that was devastating, to sit in your room and to go from wanting to be the best in the world to now being told you're in the wrestle pack and there wasn't a thing you could do. And this is where we have the first controversial call. I always ran bent leg Turks from the top position. As I'm about to bow him up, he brings his butt up, which knocks me off to the side.
I was up, and now come to your knees. And when he came to his knees, this happened. I fell to my side. And then I immediately scooted and got back up and never turned. So you can argue that he initiated that action from the bottom, right? And then the rules of freestyle are like, you don't penalize the aggressor. You know, it was my move, I slipped, I fell. So they never gave points. And this is where you go back to, you could say that's 2, but you can't change a match in a back room. It's already been wrestled. I won 4-1. Had they said 2 for the Bulgarian, we still had like, I don't know, 2-3 minutes left to wrestle. Well, then my attacks would have changed, you know, but with a 4-1 lead, I'm gonna hold my position is what happened.
I do not believe it was because they were out to get Cary Kolat. It was because Bulgaria needed a medal. Bulgarian world champion, the first round, he got a tough draw. He got Cary Kolat. Cary Kolat beat him.
This is Bulgaria's only chance for a medal. Bulgaria had been down for a few years, man. They were down in a hole deep. This is Bulgaria's only chance for a medal. And I sit back and say to myself, who cares? Hey, if your guy's not good enough to get a medal, that's his fault. You know, if your team's not good enough, that's their fault.
My belief system is that something happened in the back room between Bulgaria and Fila, and they overturned the match. I wasn't in the room. I don't know what happened, but I'm not convinced that they believe the scoring wasn't correct. Man, that's as gentle as I can put it.
But to be taken out of a tournament like that with these scumbags, basically, is how I look at it. And I mean, it was devastating.
We're in Tehran, Iran. We're not going to jump on the bus and go home and protest. So he cowboyed up and got back in the fight and came back and took third.
I'm more proud of that bronze medal than any other event that I've ever probably wrestled in terms of what I had to suck up and get through to get done. I mean, I battled through, I didn't lose. And but then the Bulgarian wrestles Cary. I'd beaten Cary at the World Cup that year, and so the Bulgarian walks out with the world title, Cary walks out with the silver, and I walk out with the bronze. And I've beaten both of those guys, and I just went home. Then I went back to training. You know, I had some sleepless nights, but I couldn't have so many sleepless nights that it affected training. So eventually, at some point, I had to let it go. I had to let it go. You know, okay, Cary, you're gonna win in '99. And now the rules have been changed, though, from '98. Now, when they protest a match, you have to re-wrestle the match.
At least you had the opportunity to wrestle the guy again if they went in the back room and re-scored it, which happened to Cary in 1999 in Turkey. The very first match, he was behind Umakanov, who became a world champion. He was behind 7-0 after the first 3 minutes. 7-0.
I don't know what he was doing to me, but he took me down 3 times in a row. And I'm going and I'm about to be exposed for 3. And I'm like, I cannot give up 3 points. So I do everything I can to keep my body upright and my head up, and my shoulder takes full impact on the way down. So I only give up 1. And then all of a sudden my shoulder just catches fire.
He separated his AC joint. He literally can't lift his arm, and I'm thinking, unbelievable. Here we are again, his 3rd world championships, and he's dealt yet another blow.
I think Bruce was more nervous than me. He's trying to calm me down. The only thing going through my mind is I remember watching Tom Brands being down 9-0 against some Russian or somebody and win 12-11. I remember watching that match. And so as I came to the corner and we're sitting there, I'm like, I've seen a guy do this before. You know, I've seen a guy in the same place that I am right now go on and win the 96 gold medal. And if I'm the guy, I can do this. I'll battle right through this.
But he comes back and beats Umakanov. I'm telling you, he did it on one arm.
But the downfall was I came out with a separated shoulder. My mind went to, just like 98, look, Cary, you can pull out because you separated your shoulder, or, man, we can find a way to win with it, you know? I didn't think poor me. I didn't think anything else. And I didn't make an excuse about it. I'm winning with this shoulder.
So he has to get a cortisone shot for the next match. And I'm telling him, Cary, you don't have to keep doing this. You know, I'm ready to throw the towel in anytime. So he wrestles and he wins. We go back, we get him treatment. Literally, I feel so bad for him. I go into his room at the hotel after the round is over, and he can't lay down flat, right? He has to set up, his arms propped up like this. He's got ice all over his AC joint. We get to the semifinals. He's done an amazing job. They wrestle the match.
I remember looking at the clock and there was 20 seconds left, 15, and then I sweep in on a single leg. And he goes to a tripod. He's okay, he's got like 10 seconds left or 5 seconds. I mean, it was tight. He went to a tripod, relaxed, I scooped his knees and I looked up, 2 seconds on the clock, my corner's going crazy. And I was really proud of myself. I'm like, man, I just beat this guy with one bad arm and I'm in the finals.
He wrestles it with one arm, wins the match. Ukraine protests, and he has to wrestle Tadiev again.
On my perspective, I'm like, you got to go do this again? Think about the guy who loses and then you get a do-over. Like, where does your mindset go? Like, I would like to know in their shoes what they thought. Like, man, my dreams have just been crushed and oh, I'm so down. And then all of a sudden, hey, you get another chance. Man, I think I would be on cloud 9, man. Like you, I would be like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
And again, it was a good match. The second time around was even a good match. I think the final score was 2-1. And he loses the second semifinal match to the same guy he beat the first time. Honestly, for Cary Kolat not to totally snap is unbelievable.
I lose this match and I go charging the table and Bruce runs out and he grabs me and I don't know what I said, man. My dad always had this rule, you gotta be 10 points better than the referee, Cary. That's what I was taught. I think I was always waiting to go back and go back to my dad and say, look, man, we did it. Like, I'm the best in the world. You know, my dad was the push-up king. He was the be tough kind of guy, shoot your double leg harder kind of guy, be tough in all aspects, and never make an excuse. So I couldn't really make that excuse. So we didn't really discuss it. I just said, you know, it just doesn't feel right, you know, and then I went back to training. Okay, this is 3 times this has happened. No way it happens again. No way it happens when the world's watching at the Olympic Games. And I just started training and getting ready for it. That's what I did.
And because of that, supposedly, another rule change.
There will be no protest whatsoever. And I think guys might have laughed when we were in the training camp. There will be no protest in the back room. There will be no video review. Video review will happen mat side at the Olympics. The call will be made there, and that's how it will stand. That is what we were told. It's like Fila would just change the rules at any time.
What happened to him in 2000 was again unbelievable and the worst of the worst. It was the worst.
I was always thinking, I wonder what it's going to be like when I'm actually there, when I actually get there. Will I be nervous? Will I be scared? What's going to happen? It was the least nervous I've ever been in it for a wrestling match ever in my life. I just couldn't believe how I felt, and I know what was going through my mind. I'm finally here, man. This is going to end. You know, this is going to end. And so I had Tali, a world champion, first round.
Cary wrestles the match and wins, but even then, I will say, I had a bad feeling, and I was telling him to score again.
I was confident in every position, man. I was ready. I felt great, you know. I feel good. I'm just ready for this to be done. Let's just get this done. So they protest, and they overturn it. And now I got to wrestle Tali again. This is my only regret in my career ever. This is the only match that I regret. And if I could go back and fix my head and go back to where I was when we first wrestled, it'd be fine. I mean, I might be sitting here right now, you know, as the Olympic champion in 2000. But I couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't recover from it. I couldn't get this I couldn't recover. And it wasn't like down in the dumps. It was absolute anger. It was absolute anger is what it was. It was what I just told you. You can't, motivation and emotion are two different things. And I was wrestling so angry. And this is what was going through my head. I can't believe you get a do-over every time we made contact. I can't believe we're at the Olympic Games and there's not one person standing up for me right now and saying, you know, what an atrocity that's happening to this guy right now. I can't believe we're doing this. I mean, I had all these things going through my mind. And you know, when you're thinking and you're wrestling, you're not wrestling. And I don't know what happened. And when I don't even know what happened after that. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I remember sitting in the middle of the mat. I don't know. Now here's where it gets crazy and a lot of people don't know about it. So how they ran the Olympic Games was they started in pools. They put us in pools of 3. So if you beat the guy, and I just beat the guy and he scored, but I won, I would get 3 points and he would get 1. If you pinned or teched the guy, you would get 4 points and he would get 0. And at the end, they calculate those points, and if there's a tie, then they go head to head. And that guy advances out of his pool, and then you would be put into a regular bracket system, and then it's you win, you move on, you win, you move on, you win the gold medal. So I had Uzbekistan, who I had wrestled last year for 3rd, and I didn't care about him. I was better than him.
Cary had to wrestle Uzbekistan next, and he was mad. He was mad because of what had happened, and I understand. But I can remember telling Cary, you got to make this guy believe he has a chance to get out of the pool.
He goes, because if you pin him, he goes, you're going to get 4 points. He's going to get 0. And then no matter what he does to Tali, the Uzbekistan wrestler cannot advance no matter what. He's beaten Tali before. But why is a guy who going to beat somebody when he can't? Doesn't matter. He's not going in. He can't go on. And but I need him to win. I need him to beat Tali. So I'm wrestling him. And as we're wrestling, it's his first match. I can tell he's getting tired. He's getting tired. And I score on him. And then I might score on him again, and then I single leg him, and I got his foot up. And your whole life, you're just trained, you know, it's instinctive. And I got his foot up, and I sweep him. And as I sweep him, he goes to his back, and he's exhausted. And I just jump on him. And I don't even think he fought off his back. I think he was so tired he didn't fight off, and I pinned him.
So now, it comes down to this. Cary lost to the Iranian the second time he had to wrestle him. He beat him the first time. And he's pinned the Uzbekistan guy. Now the Uzbekistan guy has to wrestle Iran. Well, in the back room, I see a contingent of coaches from the Russian Republic go talk to the wrestler from Uzbekistan, and this is, 20 minutes before he's gonna wrestle. Talk to him. I watched him after they left, reach down, untie his shoes, and I said, he's not even gonna go out. He's not even gonna go wrestling. And that's what happened. He didn't go out. Iranian moves on, Cary's out. And that was the hardest of all of them.
That's how it played out, man. And my Olympic tournament was over. Umakhanov went on to win the gold medal, and I never got a shot.
Oh, here's a good shot. You got everybody. Strobel, Smith, Melvin.
There's no doubt in my mind that he felt let down from USA Wrestling and what we were actually able to do. We did everything we could in terms of trying to protest the protest, and of course that falls on deaf ears, and it was unfair. It was just unfair. And sometimes unfair things happen, but I sure hated to see it happen to Cary Kolat, and happened to him as much as it did.
I just wanted to be the best in the world. So when I look back over my career, I look at it full of disappointment. And I'm allowed to because it is my career, but I don't want to sound ungrateful. I traveled the world, I met my wife because I wrestled. I mean, I had a lot of great things happen to me because of wrestling, but I'm not happy about it, and I'll never be happy about it. I've had friends that are like, Craig Turnbull, who coached at West Virginia, he is a psychology major, and he would always tell my wife, someday he's gonna need to talk to somebody about the stuff that happened. I'm like, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. I will never, ever be happy about what happened. I don't talk about it. This is the first time I've ever talked publicly like this about it, because you guys wanted to do a story, and I thought it was, like I said, I think those things are cool and people want to see it, and it's interesting and it's good for wrestling. But I definitely don't want to sound unappreciative, but I'll never be happy about my career, how it ended, how it wound up, and that's just the way it is, And I'm not an angry person, but maybe when I'm 80 years old and somebody says, hey, I might get pretty pissed off. I don't know. We'll see if it ever fades. But it hasn't faded at 42, and going through this stuff doesn't really make it, I'm not excited, it wasn't a good deal for me, and it didn't play out the way I wanted it to play out, and I feel like I did. You could always do things better, but I did things right, and I feel like I should have had at least one gold medal, but it didn't work out that way. So.
Cary Kolat was absolutely the best wrestler in the world. His goal was to be the best in the world. He really achieved it. He just didn't get to keep that gold medal that should have been given to him, It was just...
And Cary Kolat was so good. I believe if those things wouldn't have happened to him, he could have wrestled another quadrennium. He was that good.
I'm glad that Fila has finally been ousted and fixed. Hopefully we don't find ourselves in the same situation again. And I'm glad it's better for other guys. But yeah, I was in a bad place for a long time.
We lost him for a while. We haven't been lucky enough to have Cary around the program, the U.S. program. He's got a wealth of knowledge.
Cary, I wish you were involved here. I could use your expertise. I could use your knowledge. I could use your intensity. We have great coaches around, but Cary is special.
I know I was the best in the world. Really, in the end, that's what I set out to do. I know I did it. I know I did it.